You're watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
Short for Giant Game Day edition of the show. Oh, I'm not allowed to do that for Bills game days? Damn it. Let's get into it with the lead. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome into Oilers Nation Everyday, live from the Sports Closet studio. Check them out at sportscloset.ca. They do have a lot of Bills gear there. It is Thursday, September 12th. I am back from my, I don't even know what I would call it, my two-day retreat in the mountains, management retreat, whatever we call it. I sat in a boardroom for a long time. Believe me, would have rather been sitting here talking with all of you, but I'm back. Welcome into the show. No Liam today, but AB's here. We're going to have Stephen Ellis swing by on the Star Mechanical guest line. And yes, I'll be chatting with all of you over in the Greta Bar YEG YouTube chat. Oilers Nation every day, or as Sergeant Battle says, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, except for when it's Tuesday, Thursday. I also had someone tweet me and was like, it's not really Oilers Nation every day. It's Oilers Nation on some days. And I suppose that's accurate. There's not really a lot to talk about still.
I mean, we'd kind of be pulling stuff out of my butt if that's the case, doing this every day.
Yeah, there's no way we could do this. Like, if we talk about something other than the Oilers for like 4 seconds, there's usually someone in the chat being like, who cares? So like,
you know how many tier lists we'd have to make if we were going every day?
Did you guys do one on Wednesday?
No, we didn't. I kind of regret it.
Tuesday, yeah. Waz is in and says, hey, it's Waz here from a cafe in Calgary. What are you doing there? Would be my follow-up to that.
I thought he was in the office. I just assumed he was.
I honestly thought he was at work today. Waz also said Bills stink, which is interesting considering Waz doesn't have the stones to pick one favorite team when it comes to football. He just likes to sprinkle it around. So, all right. Like I said, there's a bit to get to here. We do have some training camp headlines that we'll talk about in a little bit. We got a little What's Trending segment to get to as well. But let's just start with the Greta Bar YEG YouTube chat. It was our boy Aaron's birthday yesterday, so happy birthday. And you, of course, found your way to Greta because that is the best party spot in the city. Arcade, bar, street food, undefeated at the...
Connect Four Hoops.
Connect Four Basketball.
Four Hoops. If anybody wants to take me on, I'm looking at you. I will take you come the season, but... Yes, Ty, it was my birthday yesterday, and I'm a little hurting today. I'm not going to lie to you.
You're 29 now. You can't party the way you used to.
Don't remind people of my age. I'm one away from 30, dude.
One away from 30.
I don't feel or act 30. I don't know.
Age is a mindset. Right. It's a mindset. I don't think I act my age either. It's true, all good. Yeah. You know. All right, who's in there? David is in. I know this is a super early question, but with Dermott on the PTO, is there a world where we see Kulak moved up to partner with Nurse and a bottom pair of Dermott/Emberson? Thanks. I do think that's a really interesting question. I guess I haven't been on the show since they signed Dermott to his PTO. I like it. We'd speculated on it for a while, actually, about how, listen, the right side of the blue line, when you sit there and look, okay, Bouchard at the top, and then you have this sort of mush that's Emberson, Stetcher, you have Josh Brown, you did sign Connor Carrick, you have some not ready young options, but if you wanted to bring up a Phil Kemp, you could bring up a Phil Kemp. If you wanted to, at some point in the season, say, hey, we think Max Wanner's ready for a look. Like, you can sit there and patchwork the right side, and if someone gets hurt, you can move options. Like, you have guys. You have enough NHL caliber with maybe an asterisk by some guys, but guys who played in the NHL are guys who have NHL potential. Okay. The right side, the point is it's busy. The left side is Ekholm, Nurse, Kulak, and then it's Ben Gleason. And then it's no one. There's not a lot there. If one of Kulak, Nurse, or Ekholm were to go down with an injury for any amount of time, you had to be pretty confident Ben Gleason would be the guy. And if Ben Gleason wasn't the guy, then you're hooped and you're bringing someone to the left side who's a right side guy, and you're doing that whole song and dance, which you shouldn't want to do, especially when it's guys of this caliber. So it made a lot of sense to bring in Dermott. Do I think he comes in and is better than a Stetcher? No. I would really have a hard time seeing that. And not just to get to David's question, not just being better than a Troy Stetcher, it's being so much better than a Troy Stetcher that it's worth moving Brett Kulak to his offside and playing with Darnell Nurse, which you did in the Stanley Cup playoffs at points. and it didn't really work all that well. Brett Kulak wasn't comfortable. I remember when Liam and I talked to him ahead of game one, he was talking about how difficult it is with the hips. Like, you are doing everything the opposite of what you're trained to do. And when you're a vet like Kulak, it's just easier said than done. So I do like the ad of Dermott. I was on with Gregor yesterday, and I said, I think the best case scenario here for Dermott, like, he gets through waivers. If some team wanted Travis Dermott so bad that they are going to eventually use a waiver claim on him, they would give him a 1-year deal. I think best case scenario here for Dermott is that he ends up playing so good that the Oilers need to give him a one-way deal to ensure he stays. And then you put him through waivers and he goes down to Baco, or you sign him for $750K and you waive Josh Brown, and Dermott's a cheaper 7th defenseman than Josh Brown. And that's a spot where maybe they're battling for in training camp. But I don't see a world where Dermott comes in, to answer your question, David, and plays so good that you start seriously moving around the pieces on your blue line. That also does bring up, like I said, the idea of a lefty being injured. Well, we kind of have a lefty that's injured right now. Tom Gazzola, who we love very much on this show, he had this tweet, and he's always the one nailing this kind of info. Hearing that Evander Kane and Darnell Nurse are expected to start training camp on the shelf due to injury. Nurse has been on the ice for informal skates and continues to heal up a lingering injury from the playoffs. The projection is he will be good to go later in camp. So again, you have rules in the preseason. You need a certain amount of vets to be playing in every single game. So having Dermott does make sense as well, because if Darnell Nurse can't play the first half of the preseason games, you don't want Kulak and Ekholm playing every single preseason game. So Dermott ad makes even more sense with this. If the projection is he's good to go later in camp, the possibility of this lingering into the regular season seems pretty slow. And the fact he's skating in informal skates, my concern meter here is at like a 2 out of 10, if I'm being totally honest.
I'm not even a 2.
Yeah, like, you want everyone to be 100% healthy. If he's already skating and they think he's going to be good to go later in camp, like, if he was not skating, if he was not at camp, I'd be like, okay, it might be a problem. But we're a month away from the start of the season and he's on the ice. He's going to be all right. I'm not worried about it, but good insight there from Mr. Gazzola. There is one here from Minister, but I'm going to save that for later. Joel is in with Doc still nursing the injury he got, like that. It'll be even more interesting to see how the D looks for preseason. First rookie game for Edmonton tomorrow. Is ONE doing a watch party? No, but one of the things I talked about over the last couple of days was I think I want to do more watch parties, and maybe like we do a lot of like Oilers Nation, like at Greta, all of that. But like we have some fun new partners coming in next year that we can't quite talk about yet. But I think, maybe if there's an opportunity to meet at a bar, meet at a brewery, do some stuff like that and watch games with people, do some live stuff. I was going to say,
would we still stream?
We could do one of those.
I know. I was talking to Greta staff about, let's just do watch alongs here.
Yeah.
Well,
we totally could. Anyways, a bunch of things. Mistaken Mexican is in. Finally doing a job at work. I'll be able to join live. Hey, there you go. What else is going on here? We already read all of those. I'll just flow right to the bottom. I like the online watch parties. They're fun, from Calvin Pickard. Yeah, we could probably do.
They're fun to be a part of too.
Rusty, I would love to do some watch alongs. I don't know what Waz is talking about. You're clogging up the chat, Waz. Come on. Sergeant Battle said he's rocking his Hyman jersey at school today. I'm excited for the Young Stars tourney, itching for Oilers hockey. Yeah.
Battle's starting out at Nate. He's doing stuff.
He's doing radio TV.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did. He told me that. Well, I hope he has fun. I think I'm going to speak to the kids at Nate, which again is always a weird thing for me to say, because I go and I speak to the kids at Nate about like working in sports media. And I'm like, yeah, I've been doing it for 8 years, like getting somewhat close to a decade. And I'm like talking about this. And I'm like, half of you are still older than me. That's always a weird one. Dayton, tell the chat how I pranked you at the tournament, Tyler. So Dayton was there with his camera shooting a bunch of content for us. He drove up from Lethbridge. He comes up all the time for the tournament from Lethbridge. Comes to a lot of events. Great guy. So he was just wandering around the course with his camera. And we hit our drives on one hole. It was like a dogleg right, blind turn, so you couldn't see anything. And as as Pat and I were coming around the corner, Dayton was just laying on the ground close to one of the balls. And I was like, okay, he's probably messing with us. But also, like, we were driving pretty far away, and you never saw him at any point, like, move his head to see if anyone was coming. He was just laying there.
That's commitment.
Great commitment to the bit. But as we were driving up closer to him, he still didn't move. And I turned to Pat and was like, ooh, we actually might have hit him. Like, Getting hit on a golf course is serious.
Dude, I couldn't imagine getting hit in the noggin with the ball like that. One of your drives too?
Ooh, yeah. So anyways, he was fine, but he did get us pretty good. Brian is in. Saw the old Nation truck at Sandpiper on Saturday. That would have been me driving it because it's my everyday vehicle. If you see the Nation truck out and about, it is
I was
like
going to say old Nation truck.
Yeah, it's still running great, may I add.
What are you trying to say, man?
I drove that on I drove it up when me and my buddies did our golf trip a couple weeks ago. Loaded up the boys in the F-150. But yes, that would have been you, or it would have been me. There's people, I go to the grocery store in St. Albert, and people are like, hey, Tyler. I'm like, yeah, well, you're in the truck. I'm like, yeah, it's the only way I can get around.
You can pick you out of a lineup so fast in that town, I believe.
Brian also would have seen me coming off a career best in that round as well.
I wasn't as bad at golf as we thought.
No, that was good. So we played in the Sherwood Ford tournament on Sunday. Got drunk. But we...
Boy, oh boy, did we get... Ooh,
yeah, we got after it. Anyways, we ended up shooting 13 under. So we were only 2 stroke. We said we wanted to be 12. We pulled up to what was our last hole. It was the par 5 9th at Broadmoor. We hit a good drive, used Skirk's drive. We used my buddy Skirk's drive most of the time.
The guy's a stick.
He's a stick. He's so good. So Skirk came, nailed it. And then AB comes up and drills it onto the green. We had 10 feet for eagle. You missed the first putt. No, I think I stepped up first because you and Liam had mulligans still we could do. Yeah. And I hit the putt, and as soon as I hit it, I was like, "That's in." Threw my putter, grabbed 2 beers, stone cold 2 beers, eagle for the boys, 13 under, and then I won the 50-50.
Yeah, it just kept winning.
That was a good day for us. That was a good day. Shout out to our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant for putting on an incredible event. That was a lot of fun.
I can't wait for next year.
I cannot wait. It's honestly like it always comes on the first NFL Sunday of the year, which when you're like a month out, you're like, darn, I'm just so excited. I want to sit my ass on the couch and watch football. But then the day comes and the tournament starts at 2. So you watch a little bit of football. You throw Red Zone on in the car.
We had Red Zone.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it was great. All right. I'm also going to save this comment here. All right. Let's get to talking Bills Dolphins later on. Yes, we will. We absolutely would.
Nobody circles the wagons.
Nobody circles the wagons like my Buffalo Bills. I also got made fun of once for wearing this shirt because they were like, you would wear a shirt that just brags about your AFC champion.
How did I not realize until right now that says AFC Conference
like,
champions?
All that is
place.
It's just we lost 4 straight Super Bowls. All before I was born as well. It's a vintage shirt. But anyways, let's get into a little bit of hockey talk here, and let's get to what's trending for our friends at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. It was the Sherwood Ford Golf Tournament, but Sherwood Power Sports and Marine was there as well. It is one of the great duos. Summer is obviously coming to a close. It's fall time, but nothing better than riding an e-bike in the River Valley, maybe a scooter, getting hooked up on a motorcycle, whatever it is. Sherwood Power Sports and Marine has
Summer's
you
not
covered.
over.
Summer's not over.
Don't say that.
Summer's not over till October 1. That is when I sit there and say, I'm going to stop doing my summer activities. Sherwood Power Sports and Marine can hook you up. All right, let's get to what's trending. There's a couple of things I haven't had a chance to give my take on. It was this one from Minister. Anyone else think the Leafs only signed Nick Robertson because they were scared someone would offer sheet him at such a low price they wouldn't have to send picks and signing him as promised? Yeah, so I 100% think that's what happened here. The Leafs worried about an offer sheet, and I also think teams interested in acquiring Nick Robertson are way more likely to act on it if he is guaranteed at he has a guaranteed cap hit for next year, which he obviously does now. So Nick Robertson's an interesting guy. I mean, he's appeared in 87 NHL games. He's scored 17 goals, and he's done that by only averaging 11 minutes and 2 seconds time on ice per game in that stretch. Last season alone, he had 14 goals in 56 games. Why he doesn't see a way up the Leafs lineup is very puzzling to me because they're pretty weak on that left side. Matthew Nyes, Bobby McMahon, Pontus Holmberg, and Connor Dewar. Like, if there was ever a spot for you to work your way, forget the top 6. You have a path to playing with Austin Matthews when you look at that Leafs depth chart. So why he wants out as bad as he does is honestly pretty confusing to me. Should the Oilers be interested in a guy like Nick Robertson? I think they should make a call. Absolutely. Because when you look at a guy who, again, I think has legitimate 20 goal potential, again, 17 goals in 87 career games, 14 goals in 56 games last year. Like, the numbers back that up. He has 20 goal potential.
He's not a bad hockey player by any means.
Not at all. And he's signed now for next season at $875,000, which is an absolute bargain. So should the Oilers be interested? Absolutely. Especially after you lost Dylan Holloway. Why not? It just depends what the Leafs ask is. If they would do it for the Podkolzin deal, where it was a 4th round pick in, the pick you got from Ottawa, I would do that in a heartbeat. If they want the 3rd round pick you got for Dylan Holloway, I also probably do that, but there also is the argument that you've made your bed with Vasily Podkolzin, who I think is, again, a good bet. And I think Podkolzin projects to be a better bottom 6 player than Robertson does. Robertson, I think, has a little bit more boomer bust in him, where if he's not playing with skill and playing on a scoring line, I'm not sure how effective he's going to be, versus Podkolzin, I think, with a fresh start and the expectations off of him. I think there's potential there when we talk to quads that maybe he could end up killing penalties. Podkolzin might actually be a good 4th liner for you for the next couple of years. Maybe not with the fighting necessarily, but he could be Klim Kostin-esque, where like you throw him down there playing with decent players, but he doesn't have to be with Connor or Leon, and he's going to pop you 12 goals. Like,
becoming Matthias Janmark. I would love that.
Yeah, 100%. So when you look at the Oilers left side, Nuge, Skinner, Janmark, Podkolzin, if you go and acquire Robertson, unless you think he can play the right side and play his off wing, which I'll be totally honest, I don't know how much he's done at this point in his career, or maybe Podkolzin, Podkolzin's probably more likely to flip around. If you can get him, I would much rather have Nick Robertson in my lineup than Corey Perry, if that's the question. It's just the asking price at this point. And at $875K, a guy who scored 14 goals last year, who'd be under team control, maybe the Leafs can get a 2nd round pick for him. And I don't think the Oilers are in a spot where they can give up a 2nd round pick for him, just because they've made the Podkolzin deal already. And you do have already one kind of scratch ticket, if you want to call it that, in your bottom 6, one younger guy who you're viewing as a bit of a reclamation project. So I like Robertson. I think the Oilers should be interested in him because they lost out on a Dylan Holloway, and adding a guy who, again, scored 14 goals and is only 23 years old. He just turned 23 yesterday, actually. Happy birthday to Nick Robertson.
Whoa.
Same birthday as you.
Let's go.
How could you ever forget? Yeah, I think why wouldn't you take a stab at it if the asking price is there? But if it was as simple as trading a 4th round pick for him, I would imagine a deal's done already and Nick Robertson's got a new home, and the Leafs don't want to give up on the asset for nothing. So yeah, there you go. That's my take on the Nick Robertson thing. What else do we got? Leafs add Yanni Hakanpää and Max Pacioretty. So Pacioretty, I think, is coming in technically on a PTO, considering the fact that he had like 3 or 4 offers, I think. I bet you this is one of those wink PTOs where it's like, let us sort out our cap situation, see if there's someone we can put on LTIR when we start the season or whatever. And then we'll deal, Max, like, here's the contract, but just don't sign it till the season starts. So I like the pickup. I think Pacioretty has a little bit left in the tank, and also the Leafs are so thin on the wings. Like, would I like to see Pacioretty in Edmonton? No. I think they have enough slow. I think they have enough vets. The Oilers don't need to get older. If you were going to go the PTO route up front, I would have wanted someone like a Yamamoto, say, who's like, hey, at least they're young. Like, I don't think the Oilers need more old guys. The Hakanpää deal, I do like Yanni Hakanpää. The Leafs blue line now, Morgan Riley, the left side's Riley, OEL, and McCabe, and Benoit. That's actually a decent left side. And then the right side is Tanev, Liljegren, Hakanpää, and Timmins. So you can kind of see going Tanev, Liljegren, and then down to Timmins why they needed a righty. Although, like the graphic shows here, I know McCabe can play either side, which plays a factor into it as well. But good pickup for the Leafs. They needed some defensive depth. Their cap situation is interesting because they're 1.06 over the cap, but that is with 8 defensemen on. So if they were to just figure out something to do with a Connor Timmins maybe, or if they were to just run minimum forwards on the roster, which is actually a benefit they have because their American League team also plays in Toronto. So you could just send down someone and you can find a way to make that money work. So yeah, There you go. There's a little bit of Leafs talk for you here on a Tuesday. We're going to be joined by Stephen Ellis in a little bit. Maybe I'll ask him about the Leafs. We talked about the Barrie PTO in Calgary. Cole Perfetti needs a new deal with the Jets, but he was speaking at the NHL Player Media Tour, and he seems pretty confident that it's going to get done. And he kind of joked like, hey, they wouldn't send me as their representative for the Player Media Tour if they didn't think they were going to get a deal done with me. This is the opportunity where, like, you know, when you're watching a game and they do the preview and it's like, Connor McDavid this Saturday, Connor McDavid against the Jets. Mm-hmm. This is where they shoot all that. They have the ice there. It's where Sportsnet and TNT and I guess Amazon this year.
He ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, all these places get their content, for lack of a better phrase, here. Like I remember the first year I went, I was pre-recording Christmas content. I was asking the guys like the best hockey-related Christmas gift you got, and it was like, where was it? That was in Chicago, and it was like hot out. And the guys were like, what? And I was like, I'm sorry, but this is like the only time I get to talk to like Nathan McKinnon for the year. So that's what this whole week. So again, Perfetti wouldn't be sent there if the Jets weren't like, oh, we're definitely just going to sign him at some point. So that's all good. Mentioned the Yamamoto PTO in Utah, which is probably a pretty decent spot for him, all things considered. He's got to go somewhere where he can get a chance to play with skill. Like that's a guy who I don't love as a bottom six guy who's just going to grind away for you. But I do think if he gels with a decently skilled centerman, he can score for you. So, I like that as a PTO. Looking at the wing depth in Utah, like there might be a spot for him at some point there. So,
as I said earlier to you, it's just such a fall from grace.
It's weird, right?
As we mentioned, I said the Dry, and Kai line were tearing it up for the Oilers for like a 20-game stretch. You really thought Yamamoto would at least find his bearings somewhere else, but I didn't have this in my bingo card. Yeah. Also, Utah, get a name. It looks like a soccer team. I don't like it.
Sam Gagner getting a PTO in Carolina was surprising as well. I mean, I don't know. I love Sam. Love him. And I hope he's in the Oilers organization again one day when his career's over, but I just don't know if there's a lot of gas left in that tank. Also, speaking of Utah, our guy Rusty is in. He is our hybrid Utah Oilers fan. He says, I think he could crack the lineup, give the muscle hamster a chance. I would like to know, Rusty, who's going to be your first Utah jersey? Because I think if Yamamoto gets a contract, that would be a nice homage to your Oilers fandom and your newfound hometown team in Utah. So there's one. Also, Dylan Gunther would be an interesting connection because he's an Edmonton boy and now he's in Utah, and you're a Utah guy who loves Edmonton. So Dylan Gunther could maybe be one. Let me know. I'd like to know.
Dad, get Jugs.
Yeah, big Jugsy. Don't do that. I think. Oh, Marino, Kesselring. There's a handful of Edmonton connections on this team. But anyways, there you go. That is our what's trending for our friends at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. There was one other thing I wanted to talk about actually. NHL trade deadline set for March 7th. We have speculated, or at least hoped, I think, is definitely not speculated, hoped for a while that Adam Larson could be a target for the Edmonton Oilers at that deadline. Not happening. He signs an extension with the Seattle Kraken. Second straight year. Last year on deadline day, we were like, Eberle, give us Eberle, give us Eberle. I was led to believe from the people I talked to that there was a deal ready for the Oilers to get Jordan Eberle at some point, and it was more of like hey, we're talking contract, but if we don't get this deal done, this is getting done. So it was really, really close. Anyway, second straight year was my point that the Kraken just signed an extension with someone I want the Oilers to get. So I'm disappointed in that, and I hate them. QF Pro says, so did Ekholm. Yeah, but with Larson's history and all that, like, that's not happening. I don't see a world in which that happens. So that does bring us, and Rusty says, I wasn't planning on getting a Utah jersey, only Oilers jerseys for me, but I did get a t-shirt jersey. Oh, I'd get a shirt jersey, a jersey they call them. Yamo would be cool. Yes. Terry Wong, does Yamo deserve the Yakupov comparison yet? Well, he wasn't a first overall pick, so no. He like a guy who got drafted 22nd overall. I want to pull up his like career numbers here. To go from 22nd overall to playing 303 NHL games, you're actually not really a bust.
No, you're not all of us.
No, you had a 20-goal season. Yeah. Like Tyler Yamamoto will probably bounce around the league for a couple more years. He'll get probably close to like 450 games played, and he'll walk out of his career with like probably $10 million in earnings. That's actually
not
good.
bad, brother. Not bad.
Yeah, like that's a good career. I think he doesn't have to be an all-star. Like just making your living in the NHL and getting to be an NHLer for almost 10 seasons
I
is
think
like
we throw the B word, the bust word around way too
much. What draft was he? So he was 2017 NHL draft. Like, where does he rank amongst those guys? So at 22nd, he's played 303 NHL games. He is in his draft class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. He is 14th in games played in his draft class. He outperformed 22nd overall. If you go by points, he is 13th. So again, he's had his career is not over. I feel like I'm like eulogizing his career. His career is not over. He's got a PTO. He's going to bounce around the league a little bit more. But calling him a bust would be incredibly unfair. How do you go back to? Oh my God, Hockey DB is so confusing sometimes. Who are the guys above him that were busts? Nolan Patrick, he would be a bust. Elias Anderson, he was a top 10 pick. Gabe Velarde, no, he's churning out a good career. Urho Vakanainen, he's probably getting pretty close to that. There's other guys in the first round. Shane Bowers has played 9 games. Christian Vesalainen's played 70. But actually, that first round pick turned out not a lot of great NHLers. I mean, Makar, Heiskanen, Pettersson. Like, there was some top-end talent there. Nick Suzuki went 13th overall. Nate just went 12th. Actually, it is a pretty decent draft. Josh Norris, 19. But a lot of guys that just that first round pick turned out a lot of NHLers. It wasn't a high bust percentage draft.
Could have had Nolan Patrick.
Yeah.
See, could have been worse.
Could have been worse. All right, let's get to our Sherwood Ford Giant question. They announced that the NHL trade deadline is going to be March 7th this year, which is a Friday, which I love for us from a work perspective. Mm-hmm. Getting to do deadline and then roll into the weekend.
The beers after we're done the deadline show, Ty, they're going to hit.
That'll be very nice. It's going to be on March 7th. Adam Larson, gone as our dream boy. He was our dream target. Every year I pick one of these guys. If you remember back to my time at TSN 1260, it was back-to-back years of Rickard Rakell was always my deadline target. So Rakell was my deadline target that year. Who would have been like Ekholm eventually became our dream guy that one year. Last year, we were all in on Tyler Toffoli.
Yep.
Tyler Toffoli was one of our big targets last year. So every year we kind of pick a guy. And we ask Frank about him, and he gets pissed off at us for asking so much about him, and it's a lot of fun, and we all laugh. So our giant question today for our friends at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine, tired of dealership hassles, Sherwood Ford and Sherwood Park is all about convenience and upfront pricing with their giant deal program. Get clear, no-nonsense pricing on new and used Fords. Check them out online, sherwoodford.ca. Your giant question is, with Larson off the board, and we only got about 3 to 5 minutes to discuss this, but we'll break it down as best we can. Who is your new dream deadline target? So we went to our friends at Puckpedia and we looked at who are the right shot UFA defensemen next summer. What is the rental market for right shot defensemen going to look like? These are the names: Henry Yokoharu, Neil Pionk, Cody Ceci, Jan Ruda, Jeff Petrie, David Savard, Dylan Coughlin, Nick Perbix, Will Borgen, Brent Burns, Aaron Ekblad, Yanni Hakanpää, Dante Fabro, Jonathan Kovacic, and Ethan Bear. Okay, we can scratch off a lot of names right off the jump here. Bear, no. Kovacic, no. Hakanpää, probably no. Ekblad's a no. Burns is a no. And these are no's for different reasons. Like, some of them just, come on, they're not getting traded. Let's be realistic. Perbix, no. Tampa likes him unless they can't sign him. Coughlin, no. This is sorted by 5-on-5 time on ice last season, by the way. David Savard, too old and slow, so I passed. Jeff Petrie, too old and slow. Ruda, Ceci, San Jose can't retain money, so that's probably a non-starter for those two. I like Pionk if the Jets fall out of the race, but the Jets got to fall out of the race. I think Yokoharu is a lot better than his name has you thinking. Like, he's not exactly a household name. Like, I think people see Savard and Petrie and are like, whoa. They see Pionk, like I see Robbie in the chat says Pionk by a mile. Yes, I like Zizi, but I think Yokoharu can be good, and I think Buffalo might stink, so that could be a guy that's open. I also really like Will Borgen. I think he's got some sneaky good numbers. He's 27, so maybe a guy you could bring in and then eventually bring back as well. So I like Borgen. I like Fabro, but I think Nashville's a playoff team, so he's probably not going anywhere. So I like Borgen. I like Henry Yokoharu. And if the Jets fall out and would keep half a Pionk, that's a great target as well. So there's a few that we kind of like here. But I think
I'm a Pionk guy, I think, number one. But I just don't really see the reality of that actually happening. David Savard, my idea go to, but no, he's way too old. And I hate to say it. Cody Ceci, brother.
So I know, but not always. Says Ceci at 50% retained. And then JT, Oilers can trade for Ceci with San Jose retaining cap. San Jose has no retained salary spots. They burned them. Burns, Carlson, hurdle. You can only retain 3 contracts. San Jose has retained their 3 contracts. So you cannot trade for Cody Ceci at 50% retained unless you're giving San Jose an asset, sending him to a third party. They're retaining half, and then you're getting Ceci at like 1.6 mil. But then you're giving up 2 assets to bring back Cody Ceci. Do you realize the problem with that?
The definition of insanity.
Like, come on. We're not giving San Jose a 4th and then giving another team a 3rd to retain half his money just to bring in Cody Ceci again. We traded him. Damn it.
But could you imagine what it would be like then?
But like, this is like the Barry thing where everyone's like, bring him in on a PTO. It's like, he can't run the power play because Bouchard's here, so he's useless. God.
Chat's killing me. Okay, you've convinced me. Says Maynard.
Ryan, the editor. But new CC greater than old CC. This is like when
I'm back in.
This is like when you have a dog shit car for like 5 years, and then you're like, wow, this vehicle stinks. I really need a new one. Then you get the new one, and you're like, I miss that old.
I miss the old one that's stunk of oil. And,
all of that. They were quirks. Remember the first truck I ever drove? I was so sad to get rid of it, but then I was like, wait, I literally had to put cardboard underneath it when I parked at home because it leaked so much oil. I don't miss that. That wasn't fun. Don't miss Cody Ceci. That wasn't fun.
That was a time in our life, but we're done with that time in our life.
Yeah. Riley says the pending UFA group is kind of sad. Yeah, it is. It is. So to answer the short for giant question, I know we had some other boards, AB. We'll get to Ellis in a bit here, and maybe we'll talk about that at a later date. If we're talking UFA rentals, our new dream target, I think I'm just where we're at right now with who we think will and won't be in the playoff mix. I think I'm a Yokoharu guy. Fabro's going to be in the playoffs.
I was going to say Fabro, but I don't see the reality of him being traded.
It's Yokoharu or it's Borgen. I think I'm a Yokoharu guy. So I think that's my answer. I think Yokoharu is my answer to the short for giant question, but you can all have your take as well. We got an interesting question from D Wiggs about a trade candidate, but I will talk about that a little bit later on. For now, let's get out to the Star Mechanical guest line. It's Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. You can check them out online at starmechanical.ca. Shout out to neighbor Red. He's moving today. Today was possession day.
No.
I know, very sad. And as he moved, he had a bunch of stuff he doesn't want to take to his. This is how great the people at Star Mechanical are. This is why I love Red. He's moving. He has a bunch of stuff he doesn't need at his new place. He's buying a big fancy mansion up in the hills. It's very bougie, very luxurious.
That boy, Red.
Good job, Red. He gave me a propane tank full. That's great. That's value.
Always need that.
Great value. And he gave me a portable AC unit because his
like
new
the
house
one you stick out your door and whatnot.
Yeah,
sick.
And because his new house is AC. So bang, look at that.
Dude, those are cheap.
All I gotta do,
are not cheap.
Not cheap. All I gotta do is go help him move something later today. Easy deal. That's a win.
Red, I'll come help you too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. If you have more propane tanks, Aaron is willing to come help. Anyway, shout out to Red. Shout out to Star Mechanical. Let's bring in Stephen Ellis. He's our Daily Faceoff prospect insider. Mr. Ellis, you put the Yamamoto jersey up because you heard us talking about him. I love that.
I did. Yeah, I got that jersey for I want to say $30 at there's like a jersey discount store. I bought a ton of jerseys before COVID. Like I have 80 jerseys. But like the day before everything shut down, I went to the store and there was like I got 4 or 5 jerseys for like $60 total. It was great. I got a Colin White Senators jersey. His career fell off the earth. I got a Cam Talbot Oilers jersey and I got a Pat Maroon Oilers jersey. I forget what else I got, but a Jonathan Drew and Habs jersey. But yeah.
That's a collector's item too. I love that you put up the Yamo jersey for us. Okay, we're going to talk Oilers rookie camp roster and a few other things. But first, scanning through some other rookie camp rosters, Keith Kincaid is on the Islanders rookie camp roster. I'm confused by that. Has this ever happened before, or is this like he's 36? I think
he's 35. So very close. A 35-year-old rookie with 12 years of NHL experience makes a ton of sense, right? Yeah, good meme there. Yeah, I guess with him just wanting to keep being involved in hockey, keep being involved. This is I guess a good opportunity. He played on what felt like 40 teams in the NHL last year or in the last couple of years. But I guess the one thing here is the last name I can think of that was a guy who was no longer really a rookie playing in this tournament may have been Spencer Knight, but that was just because he missed so much time while he was off the ice. So I've never heard of this before.
Interesting. Oilers rookie camp roster. Matt Savoie is obviously a big name that everyone wants to see in Oilers threads. He was ranked number 40 in your list of top 75 affiliated prospects. And listen, he has torched the WHL. He has the 1 game of NHL experience, 6 games of AHL experience as well. Are you surprised he's going to this, or do you think he has something to gain from this experience? Or is he just going to go shit on everyone and then come out of it and be like, well, that was pointless?
See, this is the thing. Like last year, watching him play in Buffalo, and he actually got his shoulder injury in the very final game of the tournament in Buffalo, albeit this year's Buffalo tournament. But he was basically the best player in that tournament, and I'm not sure it was entirely close. Like a couple guys in the Sabres looked really good, but Savoie was just on another level. It seemed like magic happened every time he touched the puck, and that's why I love him. He's really good with the puck. I guess a tournament like this, it's, new team, go. There's a marketing element to it, right? Get all the pictures of him playing in a game in an Oilers jersey helps, but him just like getting an opportunity to play with some other guys that could be part of the future. I think with him, it's just, go out there and show you why you're one of the best players in that tournament, because, the Penticton tournament's got a ton of talent, but Savoie is one of the more talented players. But he's also got to prove he needs to have a good training camp if he wants to have a chance to play a bit more games at the start of the season, things like that. So you might as well start the year off with a chance to get real good confidence there.
Yeah, JT's in the chat. Savoie's like 19. Of course, he's going to the rookie tournament. He's achieved nothing. I just think the point is I don't know how much you're going to learn about him by watching him go dominate these guys, but I think you make a good point with the marketing side of it too. So Savoie was the lone Oiler on your list of top 75, and it's obviously no secret that they have one of the lower ranked farm systems in the league. So after Savoie, who's next? If you had to rank them, who's number 2 on this list for the Oilers? Who's their second best prospect?
Well, I will give a shout out to a guy who's not part of this though, but Olivier Rodrigue. I did put him as my 25th top goalie in my top 25 goalie prospect rankings. Barely made it. But in terms of who else to watch here, Beau Akey for sure. Is he going to be playing? I know there's been talk that he isn't 100% healthy. Do you know
his shoulder's not 100% yet? I don't think.
Yeah. So, but Akey is a guy that, I do really like. Obviously, you go out there and you see Sam O'Reilly, a name that I think a lot of people were surprised to see him drafted when he was, but a lot of scouts I talked to said, hey, that was a move worth making. I want to see if Dalen Wakely can continue the performance that he had at the OHL last year, where he was just couldn't be stopped. I did see Cotter Clattenburg play for Ottawa in this tournament, or in the prospect tournament in Buffalo last year. That dude was a menace out there. He was so much fun. So he'll be good to watch. And I think, 3 decent goalies there, 3 that could be all interesting to see how they do. So it's an interesting group. None of the prospect teams are bringing their best lineups when you have to take out, guys playing in Europe and guys playing in the KHL. But I think the tournament Penticton is going to be pretty even, I'd say.
Someone asked if Beau Akey is going to be in Bakersfield next year. The expectation is he's going to go back to the OHL for a year. He was banged up, but on that Barrie Colts team, he should be, because I know there was a point where he was kind of suppressed a bit by Brant Clark, but Beau Akey should be like one of the better defensemen in the OHL this year. Is that fair?
Yeah, I was expecting that last season before obviously he got hurt. So we do know again, when he's healthy, he's a really good defenseman who I think really started to show what he was capable of the end of his draft year. And I thought he just looked so confident with the puck. That's the thing. A player like that who was kind of playing second fiddle to start or at one point in the season, it's easy to kind of get lost in that. But I think when he really, really started to prove to everybody that he could do so many things with the puck, really showed that he's a good prospect. So I love that pick for the Oilers. I thought that was a really smart pick at the time. And last year, we obviously didn't get to see what he's able to do, but I did think he was good before the injury.
Yeah. A couple other names on here that just stand out to me, just because, again, I'm not a guy who watches a lot of junior hockey, and that's obviously why we bring on the experts like you, but I'm looking at James Steffen, 50 goals in 67 games in the OHL. You mentioned Dalen Wakely as a name. I've heard a little bit of fanfare over a guy like Frankie Morelli, a bit of an undersized but left shot defenseman who played with Ottawa in the OHL last year. I know you did kind of hit on a few, but any under the radar name that the people watching this show can maybe keep an eye on at the rookie tournament that you like?
Well, you did mention James Stephon, and he's someone who I'm really happy to see him get an opportunity here. He was an overage player who really had a great season in Portland last year. He had like something 50 goals, over 100 points, which isn't anything incredible for a guy who's just turned 21. He was 20 last season. But I think the thing with him is that he's always been really creative. Is he a good enough two-way player to play in the NHL? No, but this is someone who I think is going to be able to go to the AHL and impress right away. So I think that's a good sign. Like I'm surprised he wasn't drafted a few years ago because he's always been productive. He's just not an all-around style player. And I guess one fun fact, his dad is Patrick Stephon. So, hockey bloodlines there. But yeah, I'm excited to see what he's able to do.
One guy who is not at rookie camp who I wanted to pick your brain about, and it does tie into another one of the great pieces you've been doing over at Daily Faceoff, but you did a ranking of goalie prospects around the league, and the Oilers did have a guy on your list with Olivier Rodrigue coming in at number 25. He was top 10 in save percentage in the American Hockey League last year. I wrote a piece, kind of like 5 roster races I think could play out on the Oilers, and there is like a little part of me with Rodrigue that is like, he's $250K cheaper than Pickard. The Oilers are going to be trying to accrue as much cap space as they can throughout the year. Like, it's obviously the smarter play to have Rodrigue play 35 to 40 times in the American League and have him develop, but he did put up good numbers in the American League last year. He's cheaper. He's not exactly like the youngest guy in the world anymore. What's your read on Rodrigue? And you had him ranked 25th. What's his upside for the Oilers?
I think, this was a situation where if Pickard didn't have any NHL games of experience, that maybe we're talking about a different backup goalie for the second half of that season last year. But I think with Rodrigue, a very big season, he needed that. I think the year before that, he did take a nice step forward, but last year kind of showed like, hey, I could be the number one guy. I can do a lot of things here. And we saw him kind of go neck and neck with Jack Campbell. And one guy was a long-term NHL goalie. One guy has played no games in the NHL. And I'd say the guy who played no NHL games was the more impressive of the two goalies there. So, with goalies, you never know what's going to happen with them. It's probably not great that the best goalie prospect happens to be 24 years old and he's going to be, unrestricted free agent at the end of this year deal, if I'm correct. But you kind of want him to go out there and do something. But I think with what we've seen, he's more than capable of being a good goalie in the AHL. I want to see him at least rewarded and get some opportunities to prove himself in the NHL. He could be one of those guys who just comes out of nowhere and steals the show. Who knows? But, at least you have a guy like that you can rely on in the AHL.
Yeah. Totally. I know you're out in Toronto, and you did write a little bit about the Leafs the other day over at Daily Faceoff. But what do you make of the ads that they're making, and also the Nick Robertson thing? Like, why doesn't he want to be a Leaf? Because I look at him and I look at his numbers, and I look at the Leafs left side depth chart, and I'm like, what's going on there?
It's interesting because for Robertson, I really nice kid, tons of talent. I was always concerned, dating back to his time when he played a little bit in the OJHL and then obviously in the OHL, that this guy was not going to be able to physically handle the pressure of playing in the NHL. And we've seen him get hurt pretty much every single year in his pro career. So, fortunately, that kind of has been the case. I think with him, though, under the previous coaching staff with Sheldon Keefe, it felt like anytime he was playing well, he would get penalized for it. He'd get punished for it. Like, I remember the one game he scored a goal and he was playing in the Marlies like 2 days later. So, that's the thing with him. It seems like they just didn't know what they were going to do with him. They even sent him down to the Marlies around the trade deadline there. And I know that wasn't a very popular thing, even though it was more of a paper transaction at that point. I know that it wasn't overly popular. With Robertson, I think he just needs a fresh start somewhere. Even with the lack of depth on that left side, it just seems like they haven't been able to put him in a spot where he can be a reliable player. Like, he's not a great defensive player. He's not going to go out there and hit guys. He needs to be in a scoring role, but, at times he could be very inconsistent. He's had a couple games where he looks amazing. Other games you don't know he's there, which is why it's interesting they brought in Max Pacioretty. I think with Pacioretty's health issues, an ideal situation is he turns into your third line center, or third line winger. You keep Robertson around, you see what he could do out there, and maybe you have a pretty decent left side at that point. But that's just, it feels like scoring depth is always an issue with that team, and I really don't feel like they've done enough to really address that again this year. And part of that is contracts to Tyler Yaremchuk, contracts to David Kampf that have really made it hard to go and find those cheap scoring options. I have no idea how they're going to fit Pacioretty in there if he ends up signing a deal without trading Nick Robertson. And again, in a perfect world, you're not trading Nick Robertson. So it's kind of a difficult situation for that team once again.
Yeah, never a dull moment around the Toronto Maple Leafs. Stephen Ellis from Daily Faceoff. Go to dailyfaceoff.com/author/Stephen Ellis, and you can read his top 5 NHL bounce back candidates after suffering sophomore slumps. It's guys heading into their third year. Was a great read. Also a piece on Lane Hudson. Sneaky Calder guy? Too far. I went too far.
I love him. He's one of my favorite prospects, but I feel like he needs to spend some time in the AHL this year.
Fair. All right, Stephen. Appreciate you hopping on as always, man.
Yep. See you later.
There you go. There goes Stephen Ellis with his tree of jerseys behind him, giving us the latest on a bunch of Oilers prospects.
Pretty sure I saw McDavid at the bottom of that one too.
Yeah, he did have a McDavid down there. If you have 80 jerseys as a hockey fan and you don't have one that's a Connor McDavid jersey, you're doing something incredibly wrong. There was another name that people in the chat were throwing out that I wanted to talk about a little bit, because we talked about the fourth line center spot. And I also, again, to talk about the article I wrote the other day, I think that is the one spot in the forward group that's really up for grabs right now, is that 4C spot. I would not be the least bit surprised if Derek Ryan does not make this team out of training camp. And I think at some point during the season, a guy like Noah Philp is a candidate to get a call up. Shout out to the U of A Golden Bears. I think Lane Peterson is potentially a better hockey player than Derek Ryan. Like, again, right shot centerman. He checks that box. Bring him up. See if he can kill penalties. He scored you 22 goals in 60 games in Baco last year. Like, why not? But the other name, Sergeant Battle brought him up, was Jaden Gruby. And his numbers last year in his first pro season, I mean, they're not jumping off the page at you at all. He scored 8 goals, added 6 assists in 67 games, but he's 6'3". He's a right shot. He was a captain down with the Red Deer Rebels in junior. He's an Alberta boy. Like, he's a hard worker, and you're not, like, sometimes you can fall in love with boxcars down in the American League, and it's like, you wouldn't be asking Jaden Gruby to come up and score you 13 or 14 goals a season. I think Lane Peterson can come up and score you 10, 11, 12 goals a season, but you're not asking that of Jaden Gruby. If Jaden Gruby, and again, it's not this year, he's probably a year away, but born in 03, so that makes him 23, he's about to turn 24. Getting to the point where a bottom 6 guy would be starting to develop a little bit. I just think he's a guy to keep on the radar, just because being 6'3", 200 pounds, shooting right and being a natural centerman is like a check for kind of a hole the Oilers have in their organization right now. So I don't know. I look at him and the measurables jump off the page. The numbers leave you wincing. And then you go, well, if he can win faceoffs and if he can kill penalties, I don't give a shit how much he scores. So
I got a name for you.
Okay.
One that was on the team last year for a bit, James Hamblin.
Yeah, for that 4C race. Gregor asked me about him the other day.
Like, what, 5-6 games, something like that?
And he scored a couple of goals.
He played with piss and vinegar. He had a lot of energy.
Yeah, he played more than that.
He's left-handed. He played 31
games last year, right? Right. Yeah.
Two goals.
Or 31. 2 goals and assists. Like, again, the scoring's not there. He didn't play a ton. 755 was his average time on ice. He's undersized and he's a left shot. Like, Lane Peterson's not the biggest guy in the world, but he shoots right. And I like that because, again, the Oilers have a lot of left shots. So, I don't mind Henrique. I really do think he's a tweener at this point, not overly sized. So, yeah. Again, their top 3 centermen are McDavid, Draisaitl, Henrique. They all shoot left. I think you do want a right shot in the mix at some point, which is why I don't think Hamblin is really an option there for him. Ellis told me his Oilers jerseys are McDavid, Yamamoto, Maroon, and Talbot. Appreciate that. Calvin Pickard, anyone hear Taves' name anymore? No. Like, we're way past him making a comeback.
He was a Burning Man.
He was a Burning Man. I did see that. So that's what he's up to. He's not training for the NHL. JT, Roby Jarventi is a dark horse to make the Oilers. I think potentially I could see him earning a spot over a guy like Raph Lavoie. And again, depends how things kind of end up playing out, but is there a chance where neither Derek Ryan or Corey Perry are in the opening day lineup? Like, I don't see a world where both of them are down in Bakersfield, but I could see a world where one of them, Derek Ryan, is down in Bakersfield and the other one is your 13th forward. And if that ends up being the case, do you like, so again, daily faceoff lines, if you want to pop them up, baby. Let's say the top 9's locked and it's okay. They're going to go Janmark, Brown, Henrique and see if that line can keep their magic going from the playoffs and have some sustained success. Cool. Are you in on a fourth line that's Podkolzin, Peterson and either Jarventi or Lavoie.
That makes me nervous. Granted, once again,
not a lot of experience there.
Yeah.
But there's more youth. There's more speed. There's more physicality. Like Corey Perry doesn't play physical. He's not fast enough to play physical. He's a guy who...
He's not fast enough to play.
That's probably true. Derek Ryan's not fast enough to play physical anymore. Peterson, Podkolzin, Jarventi will play physical. Podkolzin will play physical. Peterson will move a little bit better. He's a right shot. Like, it could be an interesting fourth line, but again, what I come back to with that is, who are your PK guys? Like Henrique, Janmark, and Brown, those three are going to kill for you. You lost Vogel and McLeod. Those were two consistent penalty killers for you. So is Nuge going to kill more this year? Is Podkolzin going to kill more this year? Or do you need to keep Derek Ryan on the roster because you need him to kill penalties? So I do think the penalty killing side of things is a little bit concerning just because they lost Vogel and McLeod. But again, I would imagine they have a bit of a plan of, okay, we think Nuge can kill X amount more penalties. We think, an Arvidsson will kill. We think we can teach Podkolzin to kill. That wouldn't surprise me either. Like, to me, if Podkolzin's going to be on your fourth line, he's got to kill. Like, he's not going to be getting a lot of power play time. So how do you get his minutes up to double digits and get him into the 10, 11 minute range? Probably has to kill $1.50 worth of penalties
and
for you every
night.
Said
he hasn't killed in the NHL.
But he killed in Russia.
Yeah.
So there you go. A couple interesting things. 10 minutes to go on the show, which means it's time for the Bet365 Other Sports Report. Bet365, the largest sports betting platform globally. You can get in on the action by downloading the app and using the promo code OILYBONUS. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment is, never ordinary at Bet365. Let's get to a few different things. Let's start in the baseball world and Bowden Francis. He took another no-hitter into the ninth inning the other day. He also, again, gave up a leadoff solo home run in the ninth inning, and then the Jays ended up losing the game against the Mets, but I don't care. I love when the Jays lose because it gets them closer to the first overall pick. But the Blue Jays might have found something here in Bowden Francis. Like, how many times in a great pitcher's career will they bring a no-hitter into the ninth inning? In their career. Never mind a guy doing it twice in one season. Never mind a guy doing it twice in a month. In the span of 6 starts.
When you're hot, you're hot.
Yeah. Bowden Francis has taken a no-hitter into the ninth inning twice, and he's taken a no-hitter into the 6th inning once. That's in his last 6 starts. They might have found a guy here. He's 28 years old, a bit of a late bloomer, but coming into spring training this year, a lot of the talk from like the Trevor Richards and the Chris Bassett's and the vets of the staff and Pete Walker was like, watch for this guy. His stuff is nasty. And now it was a slog this year. He never really found consistency, but he added the splitter and he's like unhittable right now, which is crazy. So, Maynard said it doesn't make any sense. He really doesn't have any exceptional stuff. And maybe it is just a heater, but at 28 years old, man.
I like seeing you smile again when you talk Blue Jays.
I know.
This is nice. Good. This is nice to see.
It feels good. Also, speaking of baseball, we have to update everybody on the local product, Eric Sabrowski, who got back into action on Tuesday as the Cleveland Guardians took on the Chicago White Sox. They were up 6-1, 5-1, somewhere in that range. They were up something to 1. Sabrowski comes in for the 9th. Bing, bang, boom. He's out of the inning. The Edmonton product, 5th ever Edmontonian to make an appear or to pitch in the major leagues. 4 2/3 innings pitched to start his career. No runs against, period. 6 strikeouts, has stranded a runner on base in all 3 of his appearances. His whip is down at .64. Shout out to our guy. Dude. Shout out to our dog. Next step, make the playoff roster. That's what I'm looking
for. Follow Tyler Yaremchuk for all your Eric Sabrowski updates.
I tweet every time he pitches.
I did not know he was pitching, but I have notifications on for Ty. And then I went, Shohei Sabrowski? Let's turn that on.
He did get Shohei to fly out last week, struck out Freddie Freeman as well. So got to give a shout out to our dog. Super proud of him in the majors. Shout out to Bowden Francis. There's our baseball talk. Thursday night football tonight. Our guy Rusty said it earlier. We're going to talk a little Bills Dolphins. Here's what you need to know coming into tonight's Bills Dolphins matchup. Josh Allen 6-0 in his career on Thursdays. Josh Allen 11-1 in his last 12 games against the Miami Dolphins. He owns the Miami Dolphins. He routinely puts the team on his back when he plays against them. So how can you not like the Bills tonight? They are underdogs over at our friends at Bet365 by, I think, 1.5 points. If you bet them on the money line, it is plus 120. Or why not cook up a little same game parlay? I think I'm going to do that right now. I like the Bills to win. I'm not going to touch the first half because they start slow sometimes, especially in primetime games. There's a little bit of a feeling out process.
Sometimes Miami gets hot in the second half as well.
That's fair.
That literally just happened week 1.
And for both teams, that happened. Yeah. But if you take the Bills on the money line, you take Josh Allen's over for passing yards, which is set at 243. And then you can also tag on, I like Khalil Shakir tonight for the Bills. So I'm going to go with receiving milestones, and I'm going to go Shakir to get to 50 yards.
I like that a lot.
Bills win. Allen over 243. Shakir 50-plus yards. Pays out plus 550 for our friends at Bet365. How do you not like that?
That's tasty.
How do you not like that?
Josh going to run one in today?
I mean, if you add that into the mix, we're talking about 9-1, which is juicy. And that's not, those 4 things aren't exactly stretches. So anyways, that's my thoughts on the Bills. Also, my teaser for the week, because we are not doing a show tomorrow. It's a 2-show week for us. I lost the teaser by, it was your Patriots beating the Bengals.
Dude, it ruined everything. It's just, why'd they do that?
Screwed me. Anyways, here's my teaser for the week. You take the Bills, you bring them up to plus 8.5 tonight against Miami. So you buy the 6 points. It goes from 2.5 to 8.5. The Bills, anytime they've lost over the last couple of years, it's by single-digit points. Like, they're not getting blown out tonight. Heartbreaking. That too. Yes, thank you. So take the Bills up to 8.5. Take the Rams, who are +1 on the road in Arizona, bring them up to 7 against the Cardinals, and then take the Saints and Cowboys over and knock it down to 40.5. So you're knocking down an over-under between Saints Cowboys. You're buying points on the Rams and Bills. Play those 3 together. It's +150. That's my weekly teaser for our friends at Bet365. Miami.
That's a good teaser.
I love this one from Robert. Miami added this offseason and Buffalo lost quite a bit. It's going to be somewhat close, but it's all Miami tonight. We have been hearing that as Bills fans for 3 years, 4 years now.
Yeah.
Oh, the Jets. Look out for the Jets. The Jets added a lot. They're really good. And then the Jets stink. And then the Jets go and lose in week 1 to the Niners, and it's hilarious. And their defense looks like Garbaggio. And then what do we hear? Look at the Dolphins, Tyreek and Waddle and all these weapons for Tua Tagovailoa.
McDaniel.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
All we ever hear about against the Bills is, this is the year they lose the division. And then what happens? They go out and they win the division because they're the Buffalo Bills. The AFC East runs through Miami. Robbie, listen, it could very, very easily go Miami's way tonight. They could win tonight. There's a reason the line's as close as it is, and I'm not going to sit here and say Miami's terrible. But the Bills have won 11 of their last 12. It's a night game in Miami. They don't have the advantage of the sun on the visitor sideline, which is a thing.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that's right.
Come on. It's the Bills. It's Josh Allen.
I got 2 words for you.
Time.
It's Josh. It's Allen. That's it.
I saw Dolphins fans were trying to clown him on Twitter, and Bills fans are just responding with the montages of him steamrolling. And I know someone was like, oh, Christian Wilkins, he always gets under Josh Allen's skin. The Dolphins get under his skin. And I think it was Eric Ford or whoever, the former Bills center. I'm blanking on his name now, but he responded and was like, no, man, Josh loved that. If you didn't piss him off, you actually probably would have had a better chance. So anyways,
also,
Josh
he's
Allen's
not on the team anymore.
Yeah, he's also not on the team anymore. So Josh Allen owns them, and I expect that to continue tonight. So that's what we got for our other sports report, courtesy of Bet365. Got a couple more minutes left in the show, so I'll get to a few more comments. I like this one from D. Wiggs. He says, Stauffer is doing his old, quote, reading the tea leaves from the shadows of the front office routine. He's been hinting Kane will be traded for Ristolainen. The salaries are easily compatible. Ultimately, Risto is likely a better option than what we currently have. Rasmus Anderson is my personal ideal fit. So, I don't know if Bob actually said this. I'm blindly reading a comment. Evander Kane's no trade doesn't right now it's a full no move or full no trade. It doesn't expand to 16 teams until March 1st, which, go back to earlier in the show, is a week before the trade deadline. So if you're going to trade Evander Kane to Philly now, you need his express written consent. Huh? You need his approval. So you really can't. And I can't see a world where Kane goes, I'm in, deal me to Philly. No. Could it happen? Whatever. Anything is possible. I will also push back on ultimately Risto is likely a better option than what we currently have. No, he's not. He's not that good. He's really not that good. He is an anchor contract. You do not want to touch that. Go get someone better at the deadline. You can survive Stetcher and Emberson and whoever else you need to use. You'll survive. They'll be fine. Don't make a panic trade for Rasmus Ristolainen.
Yeah, I don't think the upgrade is that worth it in that situation.
No.
That's a little desperate.
Doesn't he have like a bunch of turn? Like with Evander Kane, you could keep him, buy him out this next summer if you want, or trade him next summer if you want. Why are you willingly signing up for 3 years of Rasmus Ristolainen? That's crazy. And he's not good. God. No. Now look what you've done. You've angered me.
But he shoots right, Ty.
You've angered me. I'm going to have to go get a pizza pocket from the bakery downstairs. Pizza pockets today. They were changing it. It was pizza pockets for a bit, and then they started doing the spinach feta pockets. Yeah. Nowhere near as good. The pizza pockets from Bread and Butter in the Riverdale area are beautiful, and I'm going to go eat one. Microwave it for 15 seconds, nice and warm. Get the mozzarella melted.
Oh, you're getting me.
Nice. Obviously, Bill's game. What's that noise? I don't even know if the people are hearing it.
They can't hear it. I don't think so. Elite prospects.
Oh yeah, Robbie, you guys remember the Nurse for Ristolainen rumors a couple years back? Yeah, just like terrible stuff. Anyways, texted my, shouldn't call her girlfriend, fiance, Amber, big Bills fans, big Bills game tonight. And I texted her, I did the old, so what do you think we should do for dinner tonight? And I'm thinking like pizza, go out somewhere, Bills game day, come on now. And she responded with like, we have pork chops in the freezer. And I was like, whoa, flag. We are not on the same page right now. We are not even close. And I said, I think we're getting pizza or going out somewhere.
You don't want to cook on Bills game
day. I'm also, when it's my team playing, like I thought about, do I go to an establishment somewhere? Do I mix it up? I think I'm more of a feet up on my couch ordering pizza guy than like go to a bar. Is the sound on? Am I going to have a good view of the TV?
Dude, it's like anything. You watch the game better at home. It's same with the Oilers, same with football. It's just something about being in your own area. Also, I'm a PVR guy. I love rewinding back for a couple seconds to go, wait, did I just see that? Yeah. Did I think I just saw that?
Yep. I think it's a stay home, beer and pizza on the couch, Bills game on the TV.
Wings. Treat yourself. Get some wings. It's a Buffalo. Come on.
Yep. Actually, that is a great point. Buffalo wings and pizza it is tonight for me. And that is a wrap on this edition of the show. We're going to go do a new episode of the Real Life podcast. Waz says, where should I watch it in Calgary? Greta. We're going to do an episode of the Real Life podcast. That's going to drop later on this afternoon. And then tomorrow, a new episode of Oilers Nation Radio for your listening pleasure. So even though there's no more ONEs this week, you still got a couple more pieces of Oilers Nation audio content to get you through the remainder of your work week. Real Life, ONR, and also BM is recording it better late than never tonight. I even put the stickers up here on our jersey to rep. So anyways, there you go. That's your content. Beau, glad I made it for the end of the show. Glad you did too. Hit that rewind button. Tell a friend about it and oil up. Talk to you guys next week.
Thank you for watching Oilers Nation Every Day. Hit the subscribe button to never miss a show. And for more, visit OilersNation.com.